The roast chicken was dry that night. I'd basted it myself, though it didn't matter. Vanessa dabbed her napkin like royalty. "Go to your room, old woman. The living room's mine now," she said, half laughing. Evan, my son, kept his eyes glued to his phone. My hands didn't shake. I just stood, slow and quiet. The chair's leg groaned on the tile. I walked to my purse, found the keys, and the deed folder. Didn't say a word. Only the jingle of the metal and the click of my knees followed me out the door. The night air bit, but it felt honest. Welcome to my channel. My name's Celeste King, 68, retired county recorder, widow. I tell true-to-life stories, mine and others, about strength lost and found again. If you relate, if you've ever been dismissed, disrespected, told you don't matter, stay right here. Hit subscribe, hit like, and tell me below if you've ever been underestimated. Keep listening till the end, because this story twists around the law, the heart, and a set of keys that changed everything. And tomorrow, there's a part 2 you won't want to miss. The air outside smelled faintly of burnt leaves and cold rain. I walked to my car. My knees clicked with each step, rhythm steady, like an old clock that never quite stops. When I sat down, the seat was cold, the kind of cold that reminds you who still owns your name. I'd been a county recorder 34 years. I dealt in proof, notarized, witnessed, sealed. So when my son and his wife started treating my home like a rest stop, I started paying attention to documents again. I drove 2 blocks before I pulled over at the diner. The sign flickered. The same waitress with the red scarf was on shift. "Evening, Miss Celeste," she said with that unsure smile people give to the newly pushed aside. "Coffee," I told her. 2 creams. "Keep the pot coming." Steam rose. I took the first sip like medicine. Bitter. Necessary. The folder on my lap was thick deed copies, tax receipts, signatures. All of it mine. My husband, James, signed it in '89. After he died, I kept everything straight: mortgage, taxes, insurance. Then Evan said moving in for a few months might help him get back on his feet after the layoffs. That was 3 years ago. I thought I'd feel lighter helping family. Instead, I'd been running on fumes, cooking, cleaning, covering bills they promised to handle. They always said, "Next check, Mom. We'll pay you back." But the checks never came. Only packages. Shoes. Games. Vacations I wasn't invited on. That dinner broke something. When she told me to go to my room like a child, I realized I'd let them rewrite who I was. Tick-tock. The diner clock hummed above the counter. Every second sounded like permission. Permission to begin again. I flipped my planner open. I keep paper notes. Always have. On one blank page, I wrote 3 things: call attorney, secure utilities, reclaim mortgage. I underlined each twice. The pen pressed deep enough to indent the next page. The coffee went lukewarm, but my resolve was hot now. Outside, the wind rattled the windows. I picked up my flip phone, breathed once, then dialed a name I hadn't spoken in 5 years. "Mr. Hale's office," a young voice answered. "Tell him Celeste King is calling. It's personal." A pause. Then his older tone filled the line. "Celeste. Been too long?" "Yes," I said. "And I've been too patient." He chuckled softly. "That bad?" "Worse. My own family, in my own house." "Then we'll fix that. Start with what papers you've got." "I've got everything. Original deed, notarizations, tax proof." "Good. Then I agree to meet tomorrow morning." "Bring it all." The call ended with a click that sounded like a lock turning. I exhaled, slow, steady, freeing. The next morning, before dawn, I sat by the window. Coffee scent filled the room, hazelnut and cream. Vanessa's purse still lay tossed on the couch, gold clasp glinting like a small insult. They slept late, never up before 9. I watched the clock. 5:30. Tick-tock. I waited till 6, then stood. Keys in purse. Folder under arm. The floor creaked as I passed their door. From inside, a murmur. Maybe a dream, maybe guilt, though I doubted guilt ever visited that room outside. The porch light glowed. I'd left it on last night without meaning to. Now it looked like a guide, soft amber over the steps I'd take all the way back to myself. The drive downtown took 20 minutes. Sun sliced through fog as I reached the old brick building that housed Hale and Westman, attorneys at law. Nothing flashy. Just straightforward. Inside smelled like dust, lemon polish, and seriousness. Mr. Hale wasn't young anymore. Grey beard full, eyes sharp. He stood when I entered, offered his hand, then noticed the folder. "Looks like you mean business." "I always have," I said. "I just forgot my own worth for a while." "We Saturday." He flipped through the paperwork methodically. Each page made a crisp sound. Ownership. Taxes. Transfer records. Signatures. Finally, he tapped the last sheet. "Well, you still hold every legal right over that property. No co-ownership. No life estate reserved for them. You're the sole deed holder." "I thought so," I said. "The next step," he continued, "is notice of tenancy termination. We serve it legally. Then we handle utilities, bank accounts, and mortgage protections. You comfortable with that?" "More than comfortable," I said. "I was a recorder, remember? I respect the process." Mr. Hale smiled faintly. "I'll draft it tonight. We'll have a junior attorney hand-deliver tomorrow. Make sure it's polite," I said. "Polite cuts deeper." He laughed. "Still sharp, I see." When I left, I felt taller than when I'd walked in. Outside, downtown smelled like wet paper and car exhaust, but to me, it smelled like possibility. Back home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. Vanessa and Evan must have gone out. I walked through each room, tracing fingertips on furniture I'd chosen, curtains I'd sewn. Memories lived in every groove, but lately, disrespect had layered over them like dust. I moved deliberately. Checked the water shutoff valve in the basement. Noted its location. Opened my utility account online and changed the passwords. The sound of each keystroke was therapeutic. Click. Click. Control.by afternoon, a text flashed on my phone. "Evan, where are you?" Vanessa invited friends for dinner. I didn't answer. Instead, I brewed tea, sat on the porch, and let the scent of jasmine calm the space they'd disturbed. By 7 that night, they returned. Car doors slammed. I didn't greet them. They bustled inside, music blaring. Vanessa laughed loud, sharp. "Mom, why didn't you shop for groceries?" I didn't respond. She called again, irritation rising. "You okay? Or did you run out of time too?" I turned, slow. My eyes met hers. "Dinner's on you tonight," I said. Calm. Final. She rolled her eyes. "Whatever." Evan looked between us, uneasy but silent as always. Upstairs, I sat with my notebook again. New list: prepare guest house, remove valuables, call Hale for draft update. The wind outside hissed through trees, a soft warning. I underlined remove valuables. In my house, quiet meant preparation. No conflict, just steps. That's how I'd survived life. Patient, methodical, unimpressed by noise. That night, I gathered jewelry, documents, James's watch, and the sugar tin where I kept spare cash. All into a small suitcase. When Vanessa laughed downstairs, the sound barely reached me anymore. The smell of their takeout drifted up, greasy and loud. I smiled faintly. Let them feast while they could. By 10, I called Mr. Hale again. "Draft done?" I asked. "Ready for delivery first thing tomorrow. I'll have my associate bring it at noon." "Good," I said. "I'll be here. And I want copies." "You'll have them." His tone carried quiet respect. I hung up, exhaled, and marked the date at the top of my diary page. Notice, to be served tomorrow. Downstairs, laughter turned to a muffled argument, voices rising over the television. I didn't listen. I'd wasted enough of my hearing on other people's excuses. Instead, I focused on the small things I could still control: my breathing, steady, the hum of the fridge, the faint aroma of coffee grounds left over from morning. Those were mine. Sleep came late. When it did, it felt light, temporary. Like waiting between storms. At sunrise, I woke without alarm. Habit from decades of clocking in early at the recorder's office. Old reflexes serve new purposes. Coffee brewed strong and dark. The smell filled every corner. Outside, a sprinkle of frost glittered on the lawns, the neighborhood still sleeping, unaware that power was shifting behind these doors. 9 o'clock brought the first stirrings downstairs. Vanessa again. I heard her slippers shuffle, then her voice sharp. Celeste. Wi-Fi's off. What did you do? I smiled into my cup. Hadn't done a thing yet, just changed access details for my own peace of mind. But the panic in her tone told me something deeper, dependence. She'd grown used to comfort she hadn't earned. Call tech support, I said over my shoulder, tone even. She muttered, stomped away. Evan trailed quietly behind her. Every step he took sounded like regret. Learning to move. At exactly 11:50, a car door shut outside. Through the window, I saw a tidy little sedan and a man in a charcoal suit stepping out, briefcase in hand. I almost laughed. Mr. Hale didn't waste time. Vanessa saw him too. Curious, she peeked through the blinds. Who's that? You'll see, I said. The man walked up the path, knocked twice, sharp, precise. Sound carried through the house, slicing through Vanessa's chatter. I opened the door. Afternoon, Mrs. King, he said politely. May I come in? Of course. I stepped aside. The man turned to Vanessa. You must be Mrs. King's daughter-in-law, he said with a professional smile. I'm here on behalf of Hale and Westman to deliver formal notice of tenancy termination. Her face froze. Tenancy? He nodded. Please review the document. You'll find all legal terms outlined. 30 days. Evan entered, eyes darting. Mom, what's this? I took a breath. Just paperwork. You know how thorough I am. Vanessa snatched the page, scanning words she clearly didn't understand. You can't, this is our home. No, I said plainly. It's mine. For a heartbeat, silence filled the house. Then the man handed me my copy, tipped his hat, and left quietly. The door clicked shut behind him. All sound drained from the world except the subtle rhythm of my pulse, measured, calm, certain. Vanessa exploded first, words sharp enough to cut glass. How dare you, after everything we've done for you? I glanced at the half-clean dishes, the unpaid bills still sitting under a magnet on the fridge, the dent her suitcase made on my couch. Yes, I said softly. After everything you've done for me. I left her standing there, mouth open, confusion spreading like cold water in her veins. I walked upstairs again, folded my sweater neatly, placed the notice copy inside my diary, and sat down. My knees cracked, echoing small but real. Every sound reassured me, joints honest, not deceiving like words. Through the window, leaves blew across the driveway. Brown, brittle, carried where they needed to go. I thought of James. He'd worked 40 years at the power company, always said, paper doesn't lie if you hold it steady. I'd held it steady today. The phone rang again, Evan this time. He was in the driveway, pacing maybe. Mom, can we talk? Always. He stepped back inside, anxious. You really doing this? I'm following the law. Vanessa's, furious. Let her be. He hesitated. We just thought you wanted help around the house. I wanted family. Not freeloaders. He swallowed hard, eyes shining with something that might have been regret, might have been pride swallowed too long. Then he nodded once. Guess we'll figure it out. Yes, I said. You will. When he left, I locked the door, not in anger but in peace. Finger rested on the cool brass handle, familiar from years of keeping my home safe. Now, it was safe again. Later that evening, I sat with another notebook page. Across the top, next steps, update utility control, confirm bank lock, schedule Hale for deed reinforcement. Each line wrote itself, clean and factual. Task after task, no emotion needed. When you've lived as long as I have, revenge rarely looks like shouting. It looks like documentation. The old wall clock ticked on. Tick. Tack. Like a metronome keeping tempo for the rest of my plan. Each tick a memory. Each tack a promise. I poured more coffee, the scent grounding me again, dark roast, a hint of cinnamon from last week's filter. Simple things stay loyal when people don't. Outside, lights from the street cast long shapes across the living room floor. I watched them while finishing my notes. For once, quiet wasn't loneliness. It was victory whispering early. The phone buzzed at 9. Vanessa, we'll fight this. I let the screen glow, then dim, untouched. Another buzz. 3 more. Then Evan, can we talk tomorrow? I typed one sentence back, if you bring respect, yes. Sent. After that, I turned off the phone, switched off every light except one by the mantel, James's lamp, the one we bought at a yard sale our first spring together. It still cast that amber glow that made rooms look honest. I sat back, hands folded, knees cracking softly as I crossed my legs. Somewhere inside me, an old ache eased. For years I'd thought standing up for myself meant shouting or fighting. Turns out, it can sound like paperwork sliding across a table and a key turning in a door. When I finally went to bed, moonlight painted thin silver bars across the hardwood floor. The house looked quieter than it had in years, even with them still under this roof. Change doesn't always need a crash, sometimes it arrives quiet, sure, signed twice in ink. Morning would bring their anger. That was fine. Tomorrow had plans. And I had time. The clock struck midnight. Soft, even chime. I whispered into the quiet, you'd be proud of me, James. Through the window, I saw the porch light flicker once, then hold steady, a tiny sun just for me, and then knock, knock sharp. Unexpected. I turned toward the sound. At the door, through the frosted glass, a silhouette shifted, tall, squared shoulders. A man's voice. Mrs. King. Mr. Hale asked me to stop by with a question about your property lines. I smiled faintly. The next step was beginning. Cliffhanger. He agrees, notice tomorrow. The next day, I came with a man in a suit. He smiled at her and said, Mrs. King, meet your new landlord. The knock came again. Firm. Courteous. I slipped my robe tighter around my shoulders and walked down the hall. My knees clicked on each step. Click, click. Like the sound of a pen on a legal pad through the frosted glass, I saw his outline clearer this time. Hat in hand. Straight spine. I opened the door. Mrs. King, he asked. Yes. I'm Daniel Lopez, from Hale and Westman. Mr. Hale sent me to confirm your boundaries and finalize service procedure for the notice. His voice was low, professional. He smelled faintly of aftershave and winter air. Come in, Mr. Lopez, I said. We've got work to do before sunrise. He stepped inside, wiping his shoes politely. Already more respect than I'd had from people sleeping under my roof. Sorry to come so late, he added. Mr. Hale thought you'd want this moving quickly. He was right. We sat at the dining table. The same table where, 2 nights before, my daughter-in-law told me to go to my room like a child. Now it held maps, plats, and a crisp manila folder. Property lines are here, here, and here, he said, tracing with a pen. His pen tip made a soft scratching sound, like a match being struck. You've got clear title, he continued. Mr. Hale will file the formal notice of termination in the morning. I'll serve it personally by hand later today. I nodded. I want it done right. Quiet. Clean. He studied my face for a second, then smiled. You remind me of my grandmother. She kicked my uncle out once. Used the law and a church usher to do it. I smiled back. Your grandmother had sense. We went over every line. Easements. Right of way. Driveway ownership. He asked if anyone else was listed on insurance. No, I said. Only me. Always only me. He jotted notes, pages rustling. Tick-tock, the wall clock kept time behind us. I could feel my heartbeat syncing with it, slow and steady. Finally, he closed the folder. I'll be back around noon, he said. I'll need them present, if possible. They sleep late, I told him. You'll catch them by lunchtime. He nodded. Good. I prefer eye contact when I serve papers. When he left, the house felt different. Same furniture. Same walls. But the air was charged, like before a thunderstorm. A storm that knew exactly where it was dropping. I slept a few hours in my recliner, blanket over my knees. The smell of cold coffee lingered in the room. When I woke, faint sunlight cut through the blinds in straight pale lines down the hall. I heard them. Door opening. Feet dragging. Vanessa's voice, groggy and sharp all at once. Is there any hot water left? The pressure sucks in this house. I stood, joints clicking. In the kitchen, I turned the burner on for fresh coffee. The hiss of the gas flame comforted me. Evan wandered in first. Hair messy. Eyes tired. Morning, Mom. Morning. He opened the fridge, scanned, frowned. We're out of orange juice. You've got a car, I said. And a job application you still haven't finished. He didn't answer. Just closed the door a little too hard. Vanessa appeared in the doorway, robe half-tied. She wrinkled her nose at the smell of strong coffee. You're up early, she said. I always am. I slid my cup under the drip. The scent rose up, dark, rich, familiar. She sighed dramatically. You didn't schedule those cable upgrades I told you about. The Wi-Fi's trash. How do you expect us to work from home like this? I stirred my coffee slowly. Steam curled in the air. You'll manage, I said. Or you'll go somewhere that suits you better. She rolled her eyes. You love throwing that in our faces, don't you? I didn't respond. Silence can be its own kind of answer. Around 11:30, I heard a car door again. That same quiet thunk. I knew the sound already. The jingle of my keys hanging by the back door kept time with my heart. Expecting someone? Vanessa asked, hearing it too. Yes, I said simply. Then the knock came. Sharp. Even I moved before they could. Opened the door. Daniel stood there, folder in hand. Tie straight, Mrs. King, he said, voice calm. I'm here to serve the formal notice. Come on in, I replied. Vanessa hovered behind me. Who is this? She demanded. Daniel turned, meeting her eyes. Good morning, I'm here on behalf of Mrs. King's attorney. This is a notice of termination of your month-to-month tenancy. You and your husband have 30 days to vacate the premises. The words hung in the air like icy breath. He held out the papers. Vanessa didn't take them at first. What did you just say? Evan stepped into the room. He smelled like sleep and stale cologne. Mom, he whispered. I said nothing. Let the document speak. Daniel set the papers gently on the entry table when Vanessa refused to touch them. Consider them served, he said, his tone still courteous. You are now officially tenants at will with a termination date. The timeline and expectations are fully spelled out there, including the legal consequences for non-compliance. Vanessa finally found her voice. This is a joke, right? No, Daniel replied. You can call Mr. Hale's office if you need clarification. She looked at me then. Not like a grandmother. Like an enemy. You're kicking us out? Her voice trembled. Anger. Shock. Not a hint of gratitude for the years I fed them. I took a slow breath. The scent of fresh coffee filled my lungs. Yes, I said evenly. I am reclaiming my home. Legally. Evan rubbed his forehead. Mom, where are we supposed to go? You're grown, I said. You'll figure it out. Just like I did when I was 23 with a baby and no money, and no one's couch to land on. His mouth opened, then closed. He had no answer for that history. Daniel cleared his throat gently. I'll leave you all to review. Mrs. King, I'll email you a copy as well. Thank you, I said. We shook hands. His palm was warm, grip firm. An ally made of policies and deadlines. When he walked back to his car, Vanessa snapped. You have lost your mind, she shouted, following me into the kitchen. I poured myself another cup of coffee. The pot gurgled. Steamed. I watched the swirl of cream as I stirred. After everything we've sacrificed, she cried. I almost laughed. Sacrificed? I asked quietly. Show me one discount you gave me on all the nothing you did. She slammed her hand on the counter. A spoon rattled. Evan flinched. You think we can just leave? Just like that? You didn't ask if you could move in, I said. You assumed. This time, the assumption is mine. She made a sound like a scoff and a sob mixed together. You're heartless. No, I replied. I'm done being used. She stormed off, muttering, we'll see about this. You can't just switch things off. I took a small, satisfied sip. Because that was the next part of my plan. After they retreated to the bedroom to call whoever would listen, I sat at the dining table with my notebook. My hands didn't shake. The paper felt smooth beneath my fingers. I turned to the page labeled Utilities. One by one, I dialed. First, the power company. I knew the menu by heart. Customer account verification, please, the operator said. Name, Celeste and King. Last 4 digits of your social? I gave them. Yes, How can we help you today? Next, water and sewer. Same process. Name, address, verification. I'd like low usage mode activated, I explained. We can install a limiter, the man offered. Do it, I said. Soon as possible. Then, I logged into the internet account. Changed passwords. Cancelled streaming subscriptions attached to my email. Every click was a boundary drawn. Tick. Tock. My old kitchen clock approved. Around 3 in the afternoon, it started. The hot water pressure dropped noticeably. I heard Vanessa's scream from the upstairs shower. Why is the water freezing? Evan. Fix it. I sat at the table, shelling peas into a bowl. Green, plump, snapping between my fingers. The smell of fresh vegetables mixed with the faint chlorine drift from the pipes. She came down wrapped in a towel, hair dripping. Did you mess with the water? Yes, I said simply. You can't do that. We live here. You did, I corrected. Now you're temporary. Her eyes blazed. You're punishing us. I'm preparing you, I replied. For life without me carrying you. She stomped away, floors vibrating under each angry step. My peas kept snapping, steady as rain on a tin roof. By 5, the internet reset kicked in. Their devices started beeping and flashing disconnected messages. Evan came down with his laptop open, face tight. Wi-Fi's gone, he said. I know, I replied. I changed the password. That account is in my name, not yours. But I need it for job applications, he argued. There's a public library 3 blocks away, I said. Plenty of computers there. I know. I used them once when your daddy and I were saving every cent. He looked ashamed for a flicker of a second. Then Vanessa yelled from the stairs, tell her we're paying for some of that. You haven't paid a full bill since you moved in, I replied, raising my voice just enough so it carried. My online bank history doesn't lie. Silence. They had no receipts. I had 42 months of transactions. Dinner that night was quiet. They didn't join me at the table. I ate alone. Black-eyed peas. A small piece of cornbread. Spinach slicked with olive oil. Simple food. It tasted like independence. I heard cupboard doors open and slam. The refrigerator, too. Then Vanessa's hissed whisper, she's hiding food from us. I smiled at my plate. If closing a pantry door counted as hiding, they'd never survived real hardship. Around 8, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I let it ring twice. Then answered, voice calm. Mrs. King, an unfamiliar female voice asked. Yes. This is Sharon from the credit union. We received a request from someone named Vanessa King to be added as a joint user on your savings account. My eyes narrowed slowly. When? I asked. Earlier this afternoon. Phone request. We flagged it because of your age and existing security procedures. I almost laughed, but it came out like a dry cough. Thank you for calling me, Sharon, I said. The answer is no. Do not add anyone to my accounts. Please also place a note that no verbal financial changes are allowed unless I'm present in person with ID. Yes, Sharon said. We'll lock it down. I hung up, fingers drumming softly on the table. So that was their next move. Of course it was. I pulled my bank folder from the cabinet. Sat down with my pen. Wrote in neat letters, all joint access denied. All cards reviewed. Then I checked my online statements again. Every debit. Every card number. I saw a little charge from last week, Vanessa's favorite clothing website, using my backup card number she once copied for emergencies. Emergency, my foot. I called the bank's fraud line. Cancel that card, I said. Issue a new one. Overnight. And put a note that no one, not even my son, has permission to request reactivation. The woman on the phone sounded impressed. Yes, you're very thorough. I used to handle deeds, I replied. People tried to slip all sorts of things past me. They rarely succeeded. By 9, the house felt tense. Buzzing with anger that wasn't mine. I'd kept my voice level all day. But anger has its own smell. Sharp. Sour. Like onions left out too long. There was a thud upstairs. A drawer maybe. Then half-muffled sobbing. Not Vanessa. Higher pitch. Lila. My granddaughter. 7 years old. She hadn't said much during all this. Just watched, wide-eyed, clutching her tablet like a lifeboat. I walked to the bottom of the stairs. Lila. I called gently. She peeked around the banister. Cheeks wet, nose red. Grandma, are we gonna be homeless? She whispered. My heart squeezed. Not for the adults. For her. Children always pay the interest on their parents' bad decisions. I climbed the stairs slowly. Click. Click. My knees announced each step. At the top, I knelt carefully, ignoring the ache. Come here, I said. She shuffled closer. Her pajamas smelled like strawberries and detergent. I smoothed her hair. You will not be homeless, I told her, voice firm. You will always have somewhere safe to lay your head. That is my promise. But Mommy says you're kicking us out because you don't love us, she sniffed. I closed my eyes briefly. The cruelty of lazy adults, hiding behind children like shields. I love you very much, I said. Grown UPS sometimes make choices that have consequences. I'm making sure people treat me right. That's all. You understand? She thought hard. Little brow creasing. Then nodded slowly. Will I still see you? Yes, I said. No matter what happens, I'm still your grandma. And grandmas are like oak trees. We're not easy to uproot. She gave a tiny smile at that. I kissed her forehead, the skin warm under my lips. Try to sleep, I whispered. We'll talk more tomorrow. As I stood, my knees popped loud in the quiet hall. Her eyes widened. Your legs sound like popcorn, she said. I chuckled softly. Old bones, baby. They've walked through a lot. Back downstairs, my phone lit up again. This time, a number I knew. Almost as well as my own. My daughter. Angela. She lived 2 states over. Stayed out of the mess mostly. She'd built her own life. A teacher. A quiet fighter. I let it ring once, then answered. Hey, baby. Her voice came through tight and urgent. Mom, what is going on over there? I heard the clatter of dishes in her background. Her own life happening. Evan called me, she continued. He was angry. Said you're evicting them and cutting off utilities. Is that true? Yes, I said. Silence. Then a long, shaky sigh. I figured, she murmured. He always leaves out his part of the story. I walked to the window. Looked out at the streetlights. Yellow pools on cracked pavement. Angela, I've carried them for 4 years, I said. Paid everything. Listened to the disrespect. Watched them treat this home like a hotel. It stops now. I know, she said softly. I've been telling him to step up. He hangs up on me when I push too hard. We sat in the quiet together a moment, miles apart, hearts aligned. I gave them legal notice, I explained. 30 days. Mr. Hales handling the paperwork. I shut off their access to my money and utilities in my name. They can still flush the toilet, but they're going to feel the edges. Angela actually laughed at that. A short, surprised sound. Only you would put it like that, she said. Am I wrong? I asked. No, she answered. You're finally doing what you should have a year ago. There was a rustle on her end. Maybe she sat down. Mom, are you safe? She asked. Yes, I said. They're loud, not dangerous. They like comfort too much to risk jail. Angela exhaled. Okay. Listen. I support you. 100%. But you know they're going to escalate, right? I'm counting on it, I said. The louder they get, the worse they look, legally. She hummed in agreement. You want me to come down there? Not yet, I said. Let them show their cards first. I've already spoken with the attorney. He's solid. Prepared. Detail-oriented. Another pause. Then, softer, I'm proud of you, Mom. For a moment, my throat closed. Pride from my own child felt unfamiliar. I swallowed slowly. Thank you, I whispered. Call me if anything turns physical, she added. It won't, I said. But I will. We hung up. The silence felt less lonely now. Like having a witness, even from afar. An hour later, the real storm hit. Not weather. Family. First came a text on the family group chat. Vanessa, of course. Vanessa, since everyone's on Celeste's side, I just want y'all to know she's abusing us. Turning off water, internet, threatening to kick us out in the cold. A cousin chimed in with a shocked emoji. Another with, what? I didn't answer. Let them spin. I'd spent years worrying what people would think. Now, it didn't move me. Documents mattered. Not drama. Then my phone rang again. Different number. Same house. This time, I let it go to voicemail. A minute later, my voicemail tone chimed. I pressed play. Vanessa's voice, thick with forced tears, filled my ear. You're a monster, Celeste. We're freezing up here. The shower's cold, the internet's dead, and your son is having a panic attack because he doesn't know how we'll pay for a new place. I hope you're happy. I hope your church friends know you're torturing your own family. I listened to the whole thing without blinking. When it ended, I saved it. Evidence. Never delete the things people say when they think anger excuses them. I made tea. Chamomile this time. The sweet, grassy scent calmed my nerves. Hands around the warm mug, I watched the digital clock on the stove flip from 9:59 to 10 o'clock. Time marched. So did I. I was rinsing my cup when the phone rang again. Different tone. My daughter's custom ringtone. I dried my hands slowly. Picked up. Hey again, I said. But it wasn't Angela. It was my other child. The one who rarely called. My oldest girl, Mariah. Except this time, her voice was ragged. Tight. Already breaking. Mama, she sobbed. Mama, what did you do? Her voice cracked through the phone like ice splintering in water. You tell me what's happening, Mariah pleaded. Vanessa's been calling everyone, saying you turned off the heat and locked her cards. I took the phone away from my ear for a second. Let her panic hit the air instead of me. Mariah, I said, tone low, calm, measured, I reclaimed what's mine. She sniffed. Evan says you've lost it, that you're embarrassing the family. Family, I interrupted, doesn't take your keys, your savings, and your dignity, then call it care. Silence. A faint tremor in the line. Mama, she whispered, how did it get this bad? By me pretending it wasn't, I said that I could hear her crying now. Gentle, confused tears. I don't want to take sides, she murmured. Then don't, I replied. Just watch. You'll learn about boundaries faster that way. Another soft sniff, and then she whispered, they said you froze their cards. Yes. Can you unfreeze them? I could. I let the next sentence breathe. But I won't. When the call ended, I sat still. The quiet hummed through the house like steady current. A calm so complete it felt earned. By morning, frost covered the grass again. Thin, brittle sheets that caught the early light. I boiled coffee, poured it slow. The swirl of cream looked like storm clouds softening. A message pinged on my phone from Mr. Hale. Bank procedures ready. Temporary freeze on all secondary cards approved. Advisory meeting at Hyatt lobby, 10 a.m. 10 a.m. Good timing. They'd still be sleeping through their own downfall. I dressed carefully. Pressed slacks. Blue sweater. Pearl studs James once gifted me on our 35th anniversary. I stared at myself in the hallway mirror. My reflection didn't look angry. Just awake. At 9:30 sharp, I stepped outside. Keys jingled like affirmation. The driveway glittered with cold dew. Their car was gone, likely some errand of desperation. I drove to town with purpose. Every traffic light turned green like it knew. The Hyatt sign gleamed ahead, neat and gold inside, warmth wrapped around me, polished floors, the mild hum of lobby jazz, smell of roasted coffee beans from the cafe corner. Mr. Hale stood near the counter with Daniel. He looked up, noticed me, and smiled. "Morning, Celeste," he said. "Morning," I replied. We sat near the fireplace. A cup of plain black coffee steamed in front of me again. He opened a folder, paper edges crisp. "Everything's processing smoothly," he said. "Card freezes confirmed. We locked out any autopays connected to their names. Their linked cards that drew from your line are suspended pending reauthorization." "Perfect," I said. "Utility ownership," he continued, "fully listed under you. Any tampering attempt flags alerts directly to our office and the provider." "Anne." He paused, slid another form forward. "This is your declaration of sole occupancy rights, effective upon vacating. I recommend signing today." I took the pen, felt its weight. Ink flowed smooth as I wrote my name, Celeste and King. Each loop steady. Each letter a small liberation now, he said, leaning back. "I assume there'll be retaliation. Emotional, maybe financial. You ready for that?" "I've been ready for decades," I told him. He smiled faintly. "Then I won't worry about you." Meeting lasted 20 minutes. Straight facts, no pity. When it ended, I walked outside lighter. The winter air bit my cheeks. I zipped my sweater higher. Across the street, a boutique caught my eye, display window full of long coats and strong lines. Black wool. Gold buttons. Timeless. I stepped inside. The clerk greeted me, a young woman with copper hair and kind eyes. "Looking for anything particular?" she asked. "Yes," I said. "Something that looks like Don't Ask Me Twice." She laughed softly. 5 minutes later she handed me a tailored coat, deep navy, sharp lapels, smooth fabric. When I slipped it on, it fit like authority. It whispered boundaries before I spoke them. I looked at the mirror. There I was, version 2.0. "The one who stopped apologizing, that one's you," the girl said. "I know," I answered. I handed her my card. Paid in cash. Always cleaner that way. When I stepped back outside, the wind met me like an equal. Jingle of my keys against the new metal buttons, music for a comeback. As I crossed to the parking lot, my phone buzzed again. "Evan, we need to talk. Vanessa's at the bank and they said we can't access anything. You made us beg like children." I typed back slow. "Children don't sign luxury purchases on their mother's account." 3 dots blinked, disappeared, blinked again. Then silence. Cowardly silence. I drove back toward Town Square. Halfway there, the phone rang again, unknown number, local prefix. I answered out of instinct. "Mrs. King?" "Yes. This is Rosa from First Federal. I just had a frustrated young woman here claiming to be your daughter-in-law. She insisted your account freeze was a mistake." "Ah," I said. "And what did you tell her?" Rosa chuckled softly. "That our records show only one Mrs. Celeste and King." "Well done," I said. "You'll be getting a thank you basket." She laughed. "Appreciate you saying that, Have a good day." Back on Main Street, I stopped by the post office. 3 envelopes waiting, bills mostly, 1 credit union form confirming the freeze had processed overnight. At the counter, the clerk said, "You running around all day, Miss Celeste?" "Just tying loose ends," I said. Outside, my breath came out white in the cool air. I looked toward the small hotel across the way, the one Evan and Vanessa had used for weekend getaways while telling me rent was tight. Silver sedan in the lot. Looked familiar. I smiled. Let's see how they enjoyed paying their own tab. Inside the hotel lobby, scent of citrus polish and stale coffee blended oddly. Behind the counter, a clerk recognized me, her name tag read D. "Hey there, Mrs. King," she said. "Your family just checked in. 2 adults and a kid. Booked the double queen for a week." I nodded. "Can you call the manager? I'd like to settle the deposit directly under my name, just for tonight, then transfer the account to theirs completely." She blinked, puzzled but cooperative. "Sure, 1 second." A moment later a man in a blazer appeared. I smiled politely. "I'm reclaiming my independence, Mr. Manager," I said. They can keep their room, but I'll be covering one night. After today, that bill's theirs. He looked relieved. Understood. I'll make the adjustment. I heard laughter down the hallway, Vanessa's voice, easily recognizable, smooth as oil. Then Lila's lighter giggle. I turned toward the sound. They stepped into the lobby, Vanessa in oversized sunglasses, phone pressed to her ear, voice sharp. She's losing it, I swear. Elder abuse is a thing, you know. Her words trailed off when she saw me. My new coat gleamed dark navy against the cream marble. I met her gaze. Steady, Mrs. King, I said evenly. You left dishes in my sink. She froze, phone lowering slowly. Why are you here? Following the trail of my money, I said lightly. Then I smiled at little Lila. Hey, sweetheart. Lila waved shyly. Vanessa grabbed her by the arm, protective but mostly theatrical. You can't just show up like this, she hissed. Relax, I said. Just paying one night. The rest is yours. Her jaw tightened. You're unbelievable. Resourceful, I corrected. She muttered a curse and turned away. Evan emerged from behind the elevator wall, phone in hand. He looked ragged, unshaven, eyes red. Mom, he said quietly, you didn't have to humiliate us. I didn't, I replied. That part you handled yourselves. He stared at the floor, shame pooling around him like cigarette smoke. Behind the counter, Dee printed a receipt. One night paid by Mrs. King, she said cheerfully, sliding it toward the couple. Moving forward, the card on file will be yours. Vanessa shot me another look. You think this proves something? It proves I meant what I said, I told her. 30 days. Use them wisely. Lila tugged her sleeve. Mommy, can we go now? Vanessa snapped. In a minute. Her voice echoed across the polished floor, too loud, too brittle that I leaned on my cane slightly, not out of need, just statement. You can leave, I said softly, tone like a closed ledger. But when you come for your things, I'll be there. Supervision only. You understand me? Vanessa didn't answer. Her silence was the closest thing to obedience I'd heard in years. As I turned toward the door, Evan called after me, Mom, please. Don't block our cards. We need gas to drive Lila to school. I stopped. Looked back just once. You'll manage, I said. Libraries still lend bus cards in exchange for volunteer hours. Remember that. Then I stepped outside. The air felt brighter. Lighter. Freedom smells like cold wind and coffee residue. Back in my car, I checked my phone. 10 missed calls. 7 texts. I scrolled without emotion. Every message a variation of outrage. I blocked both their numbers. Tap. Tap. Peace. The drive home floated. No noise in my head. Only engine hum and the faint rattle of my thermos in the passenger seat. When I pulled onto my street, the sun was low, painting the rooftops gold. Inside, the first thing I noticed was the stillness. No shoes in the hallway. No faint music leaking through walls. A house remembering silence. I took off my coat, hung it carefully by the door. The wool brushed against my fingers, solid, substantial. Boundary uniform, I thought, smiling. I brewed tea this time, peppermint. The steam eased my throat after so much holding back. Sitting in the living room, I opened my notebook again. New entry at the top, Day 3, Financial Freedom in Progress. Below it, I wrote, utilities under sole control, cards frozen, deed secure, hotel payment terminated, inner calm restored, partial. My handwriting was slow, deliberate. Each letter a declaration. I was halfway through my tea when the landline rang. Not my cell. The old wired phone hanging in the hallway. It hadn't rung in months. I lifted the receiver. Hello. Static. Then a woman's voice, thin with stress. This is the Hyatt desk. Are you Mrs. Celeste King? Yes. There's an issue, she said nervously. Your family just checked out early. Left, well, items. The housekeeping report lists damages. Should I send the invoice to your address on file? I closed my eyes. Of course. Of course they couldn't leave gracefully. Email it to my attorney instead, I said. Yes, His already see sit, actually. Said he expected this. Good, I murmured. Tell him I'll see to it tomorrow. When I hung up, The quiet returned. I looked around the room, furniture polished, curtains drawn, my world reclaiming shape. Tick-tock. The clock kept its rhythm, then a faint vibration from my phone. Message from an unknown number. I opened it. A blurry photo of my mailbox. Text beneath. You think you've won. I didn't reply. I simply went to the front window, looked outside. Mailbox stood untouched, silver flag upright, reflecting afternoon light. Bluff. Just like every one before. I pulled the drapes closed. Sat back down. Calm. Still then, faintly, 3 text bubbles appeared again. Mom, please. We're sorry. Just talk to us. I stared. Let the phone sit there blinking. Didn't answer. Sometimes silence is the only language liars understand. Tick-tock. The house agreed. The refrigerator hummed in agreement. Even my knees clicked quieter as though satisfied too. I finished my tea, wrote one last line in my notebook. Boundary established. Enforcement ongoing. As dusk settled, a calm satisfaction filled the space around me, tangible enough to touch. The smell of peppermint lingered in the air. The porch light flickered, then evened out into steady glow. Then, just as I turned off the lamp, a soft tapping came from the door. 3 knocks. Not fast, not loud. Measured. Familiar. I froze, listening. My heart didn't speed up, it slowed down, deliberate. I reached for my coat. Put it on. Through the window slit, I saw a figure outside. Evan, shoulders slumped, holding something shiny in his hand. A key. He looked pale, lost. Behind him, no car. No Vanessa. Just the quiet dark of the street. I opened the door halfway. He didn't step closer. Mom, he said, voice hoarse. She left. My grip on the door tightened just a fraction. Evan stood on the porch, wind pressing his jacket flat. Moonlight washed his face pale. The key in his hand caught the light. Mine, of course she left, he said again, voice cracking. I waited. He stared at the key, then at me. Vanessa took Lila. She said you're insane. I didn't flinch. Then she finally told one truth, I said quietly. He blinked, trying to read my tone. Anger? Pity? Neither. Only the space between us breathing. Can I come in? For what? He hesitated. Just a seat. A minute. Please. I stepped aside halfway, enough for dignity but not comfort. He entered, shoulders drooping. The smell of cold night trailed behind him. I in the kitchen light. He looked older than his 38 years. Shadows hollowed his eyes. Coffee? I asked. He nodded while it brewed. Neither of us spoke. The drip and hiss filled the silence. When I set his mug down, he gripped it like warmth might forgive him. I didn't mean for it to get like this, he said. It always means to when you ignore signs, I answered. He winced. She cut the card yesterday morning. Bank said you froze everything. I did. I can't even fill my tank. You can find work. He looked at me then really looked. I don't know how to start over, Mom. That word, Mom, landed softer than before. It almost undid me. Almost. You start the way I did, I said. One form, one call, one bill at a time. He pressed his palms to his eyes. I'm sorry, he whispered. For the yelling, the way she talked to you, for not stopping it. Steam rose between us. It blurred his face until I couldn't tell boy from man. Sorry doesn't fix habit, I said finally. But it begins to fix history. He nodded, shoulders trembling. Then he slid the key forward on the table. Here. You should have it back. Metal on wood, the sound of return. I will, I said, taking it. He stood slowly. Where should I go? Where better men learn to earn again. Outside, his footsteps faded into the cold. The door closed behind him like punctuation. Morning came thin and grey. I brewed new coffee, sat at the table, opened my notebook. The paper smelled of ink and peppermint from last night's tea. Across the top, I wrote, recollection. 4 years. Then line by line, 2019 Evan loses job. I'll only stay a few months. 2020 they forward bills to my address. Promise to cover utilities. Never do. 2021 Vanessa calls me help. Stop saying mom. 2022, I find charges on my account for their vacations. 2023, I start sleeping in my office to avoid their noise. 2024, James's ashes relegated to back shelf so they could set up a bar. Now, reclaiming. Recording. Restoring, each dash felt like evidence. Every year a verbal deed, the phone buzzed. Text from Vanessa, you made him cry. You're heartless, you lonely old woman. I stared at it. Deleted nothing. Evidence still. Another came through. Lila asks why grandma hates us. That one hurt, but truth has an ache too. I typed no reply. Only set the phone face down and listened to the quiet. The refrigerator hummed. My knees popped. Life continued. At 10 sharp, the doorbell rang. Daniel. Crisp as always, folders under arm. Mrs. King, he greeted. Mr. Hale wants to schedule your legal follow-up review of property versus personal assets. Good. He handed me a packet. Dates, signatures, witness slots. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., same office, he said. I nodded. Tell him I'll bring the notebook. Chronology included. Daniel smiled. You still record better than most paralegals I know. I trained half the courthouse, I reminded him. He laughed quietly. When he left, the smell of paper and fresh ink lingered. A pleasant smell, clean like justice in draft. I spent the afternoon copying names, bills, dates, screenshots. Labeling each with a small sticky tab: neglect, misuse, disrespect. The law liked folders. So did I. By sunset, my phone lit again. 15 texts in a row. Vanessa's number. Most just caps and exclamation points. One photo of a motel room, captioned, "You've reduced a family to this." I sat still and read each word like a lawyer prepping for trial. No guilt. Just documentation. The last message was different. If you had a heart, you'd call me. I smiled sadly. My heart was working fine. It was just no longer for her to borrow. I took out my pen and under the day's date wrote. Ignored begging texts. Evidence of coercion attempt. Jingle jangle. Keys on hook spun as I hung them up for the night. That sound had become my signal of freedom. I made myself supper, soup and toast. Steam rose steady as my resolve. Every slurp was quiet satisfaction. At 9:30, I heard the phone again. This time it was Angela. Mom, I just got off the phone with Evan, she said. Let me guess, I answered. He's suddenly repentant. Somewhat. He's scared. They're sleeping in a cheap motel. Lila's crying for you. I closed my eyes. Guilt tried to knock, but logic bolted the door. She'll be okay, I said. She has 2 parents. They're learning what accountability feels like. Angela paused. You're colder than I remember. No, I replied. Just exact. We talked a few minutes longer. She told me about her students, her new principal. Normal tones felt good after all the static. When we hung up, I wrote one last line for the day. Meeting set, evidence ready. Morning again. Rain this time. Soft and steady. The smell of wet earth and clean slate. I packed my folder, slipped on my navy coat, my boundary armor. Keys jingled. Knees clicked. Music of progress. At the law office, Mr. Hale greeted me with a firm nod. Celeste, he said, you look 10 years younger. Freedom is a good moisturizer, I answered. We sat again in the dust lemon smell of law books. I spread my notebook open like a map. He read quietly for several minutes, occasionally raising a brow. Finally he said, this is thorough. We can file a preventive order against financial tampering and a preliminary claim for back rent if you want. How far back? I asked. Up to 4 years of occupancy. I leaned back slowly. 4 years. Interest included. Hope started to look like compound growth. Do it, I said quietly. He smiled. I thought you'd say that. While he typed, I looked out the window. Rain streaked the glass like years washing off in thin lines. For once, the future didn't sting. By afternoon, I was home again. Mailbox held one plain envelope, my copy of tomorrow's filing. I set it on the table, beside the keys and the cold coffee cup. Still life of liberation. Phone buzzed again. Another string of messages. each shorter, more desperate. We're sorry. Can we come home to pack? Please answer. Tick. Tack. I let the sound of the clock answer for me. Outside, thunder rolled low. Inside, calm sat heavy and right. Then one final text arrived, different tone, different number. Mrs. King, this is Daniel. Mr. Hale booked you for court pre-hearing Tuesday. Also, someone left a message at our office claiming police involvement. We're verifying it, might be false. I arched a brow. Of course. A fake police call. Their newest game. I typed back, thank you, Daniel. I'll expect the truth in writing. The rain drummed harder on the roof, steady as my resolve. I closed the curtains, turned off the lights, and whispered to the dark. Stage 1 complete. The courthouse smelled of pine polish and tension. Rainwater still dripped from my umbrella onto the tile. I set it beside the bench and waited, folder balanced on my knees. Inside that folder rested 4 years of betrayal, printed in chronological order. Mr. Hale leaned close. You ready? Born ready, I said. Just forgot for a while. He smiled gently. Then let's show them what remembering looks like. Office truths. The conference room was colder than expected. Vanessa sat across the table, lipstick too bright for her pale face. Evan beside her, shoulders rounded inward. Their new attorney looked barely 30, eyes already nervous. Mr. Hale opened his briefcase. Mrs. King, he said, please begin. I didn't look at them, only at the paper. This house was purchased in 1989. Mortgage satisfied 1999. All taxes current. Deed solely under Celeste and King. I turned a page. 2019 to present. Unauthorized residence, utilities unpaid, accounts misused. Paper rustled like applause from ghosts. Vanessa snapped, you're making us sound like criminals. Mr. Hale lifted a hand. Facts don't need flavoring. Evan rubbed his forehead. Please, Mom, we can fix this as a family. I met his eyes. Families don't need lawyers if they behave like families. The room went quiet. Only the rain against the window spoke. Then came the turning point. Mr. Hale unfolded a printout, bank records. Mr. and Mrs. King, he addressed them. These transactions used Celeste King's funds for non-household purchases. Over $12,000. Luxury goods. Travel. Vanessa blinked fast. That's not possible. It is. You can't prove it was us. Receipts have delivery addresses matching this house, he said calmly. Under your names. Her face crumpled. Evan sighed, murmured, Vanessa. She snapped at him, what? And the silence after that said everything. Mr. Hale looked to me. Would you like to press charges or pursue civil restitution? I studied their faces. Fear, shame, pride still trying to fight for air. No charges, I said softly. Just repayment. With interest. Then I added, consider this a lesson. Paper always outlives lies. She burst into tears. He sat very still. Somewhere deep inside me, grief dissolved into calm. The split weeks passed. They didn't go quietly. Letters from their lawyer, long and hopeless. Police calls claimed harassment. Each one fell apart under documentation. The neighbors watched from porches as they moved out. Boxes on the lawn, voices raised, shame in full daylight. Someone whispered, she finally stood up for herself. I pretended not to hear, but it felt sweet. When the truck rolled off, the silence after was immense. I walked room to room with a notepad, documenting damage. Broken drawer handles. A cracked door frame. Scratches on James's old desk. Everything went on the report. Mr. Hale filed a repair claim and the court approved deduction from their deposit and back rent amount. Then came the whisper from town, Vanessa filing for divorce. She blamed Evan for financial devastation. He blamed her for emotional fraud. I blamed neither. They built their collapse together. The reclaim with the house empty. I opened every window. Let the past out. Sunlight poured in, catching dust like forgiveness in the air. The kitchen smelled of pine cleaner and fresh coffee again. I set James's photo back on the mantel. He seemed to smile differently now, as if justice had better lighting. I painted the walls soft sage. Hung new curtains myself. Each stroke of the roller was sound therapy for old humiliations. Angela visited that weekend. She brought a plant, succulent, stubborn, alive on little water. "Looks like you," she said. We laughed. I told her about Evan staying with friends, trying to get work. "He'll figure it out," she said. "He always needed a shock." Maybe so. Sometimes love is a lightning strike in slow motion. The letter 2 months later, an envelope arrived. No return address. Inside, handwritten, "Mom, I get it now. We were awful. You taught me what boundaries look like. Vanessa's gone. I'm cleaning cars for extra cash. Saving for my own place. If you ever forgive me, call me." His handwriting wobbled at the edges like a child trying to redraw trust. I read it twice. Didn't cry. Didn't smile. Just folded it neatly and placed it in my drawer under proof of progress. The beginning after the end. Spring came. Blue jay nests in the oak out front. The sound of lawn mowers. Back to normal life. I volunteered at the library again, teaching young mothers how to fill legal forms. They called me Ms. C. Some brought cookies to say thank you. One evening, as I locked up, a man from the next classroom offered to walk me to the car. Retired veteran. Gentle hands. He smelled like mint and soap. I let him. No promises, just laughter on the drive home. A tea night, when I sat with my tea and looked around the quiet house. I realized hope wasn't something you find in people. It's something you sign in your own handwriting. Tick-tock, the clock said. Time served. Lesson learned. Freedom earned. If you've ever been the one who pays, who cleans, who stays quiet too long, remember this story. Power isn't in anger, it's in documentation. In calm. In boundaries. In knowing what's yours and daring to protect it. Now this home is mine again. The papers say so. But more importantly, my piece does too. Coffee on the table. Keys by the door. Wind steady through the oaks. And under it all, my heart soft beating, steady, free. Herb. If Celeste's story made you feel something, like, subscribe, comment, and tap super thanks to support more stories of hope and healing. New voices tomorrow, right here on the channel.